Welcome back, everybody. It is the MOSHCAST. You know who I am. And we have a very, very special guest, reoccurring guest. If you haven't seen the first one, you need to go watch the first one and then come back and watch this one. It's a very good friend of mine, pretty much like a really big inspiration of mine in my life, Derek Porterfield.
What's up, man? I'm so glad you had me back on. I really appreciate it, dude. Thank you.
100%. I had to get you back on, dude. It's been too long, and I feel like, we can probably get into this, but like you've kind of disappeared a little bit.
I have.
You're saying hi to people that like I would have thought that you talked to regularly on a daily basis.
Yeah.
To 806, shout to 806, but you're like, hey, I'm alive still. How's it going?
barely. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things. Like I love being able to take a step back, and I'm also not popular enough for most people to notice, which is also kind of its own superpower in a sense.
Oh, right.
One of the things that I really love, and I'm sure you've seen this, but Bo Burnham during Make Happy, he talked about if you can live your life without an audience, you should do it.
Right.
And it's been kind of like weighing on me for a little while of how performative so much of my life had turned into, had started to feel like, rather.
Right.
And so, I took a step back, and I've felt really good about it, man.
Oh, good.
The biggest downside, though, I'll tell you, I can't promote my new book or any of the music or anything else if I'm not posting on these things. So it's like this catch-22 kind of situation. But my mental health is loving it, so that's cool.
Good. Mental health is always important. Always important.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been up to, man?
Dude.
I feel like we haven't talked in far too long.
Yeah, literally. I think the last time we actually saw each other was at that All Hell Zero concert.
Yes.
That was the last time we saw each other. And we're like,
that was a minute ago.
Yeah. See you later, dude.
Man, they're so good too. They're so
they're
good.
really good. But doing the podcast, trying to stick my neck out there as much as I can. It's that portion of my life is good. Podcasts are doing good. The music's good. Trying to finish my album, trying to finish some EPs. I mean, I have like projects on projects of like music and stuff. But
when is your next show?
My next show is actually at House Bar on the 29th.
Okay, very cool. The 29th of April.
Yeah, 29th of April.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be so all the house shows that we're doing that I've done, I've made it happen. I've hosted most of them.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm getting into being a promoter or a hoster or whatever.
Dude, that's great. You're going to do great at that too.
Well, I appreciate it.
I feel like you have the personality for it. You also now have the connections for it as far as like you know everyone in the scene.
Right.
Man. Everyone knows you.
Yeah.
You'll be able to drag everyone to that show.
And that's what I'm trying to do. We've talked about it on pod a lot of these scenes here in town, and they're just so clicky. It's a very click place here in Amarillo where it's like we poke around with these people. We don't mess around with these people, and we do our shows. If we don't like you, you're not going to be a part of that. You know, the whole yada yada whatever. And I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to, like, the first house show was, it was a couple rappers. It was me, Trap Bunny, Jack, a new guy. I mean, he's coming out from the scene. You know, like I have all these little rappers, and we had two DJs, and they did house and dubstep, and it was a super weird dynamic. But the people loved it.
Oh
and
yeah,
I got really good comments on it, and they're like, dude, like I never would have thought in a small place like that a dubstep DJ would come out and like perform the way he did, and it was such a relief knowing that like, oh, we don't have to stick with these clicks. We can actually put other things together, and it can just go out the same way. You just listen to different things.
I think that's one of my favorite things about like the next generation that's coming up. Like the Gen Z kids seem to be so much more genre agnostic. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's just what do you bring to the table? Are you having fun? Are you putting out creative things that you believe in? And I think they feel that more profoundly than any previous generation. I just love watching their come up as far as like the way that they've shifted music, the way that they've changed the way that we approach the music scene, and even the way that we do house shows. when I was growing up were so much different than what they are now.
Right.
You know, you had venues that you went and played at, or like the Nat was a thing when I was growing up, and it feels like these kids, in lieu of that, in this city that is so difficult to find positivity in, they've created these little pockets of joy and music and art and creativity.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that. It's cool to occasionally get to be a part of that. It's just, I love it.
Right. And I feel like there's so much diversity, and there's so much ideas that you could do, that like you can literally make something happen that nobody's ever seen before. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm this person, but every time I see an opportunity, I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it. I don't care. Like, I have a friend, shout out to Damar. He's a photographer. He lives in Lubbock. He's going to be down here on next Sunday, or this coming up Sunday, and he has friends that are like doing modeling in Lubbock, and they're doing like underground like fashion shows, dude.
That's so sick.
Fashion shows, and I'm like, bro, like, let's make a show happen where it's like music and fashion.
Yes.
And there's so much art. You could do an art show with bands, you know.
That'd be
it's just
killer. That would be killer. I would love that.
I always think of just silly little ways to have everybody involved. I just want everybody involved.
Well, I love that, because I feel like, and you've done that with me too, but I feel like you're the guy that's doing the rising tides raise all ships, right? Like, you're just trying to bring people up with you.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's so important in a town that tends to push away community to try and build your own, and I love that you've been able to include me in that. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you being a part of it, man. Like, you know, I don't want to like toot your own horn or whatever, but you know, you are. When I came to Amarillo, I don't know, you have this aura about you, and I kind of just went with it. And like, you are a very inspirational person in my life, you know.
Thank you, man.
Like,
I
always
appreciate
think about
that.
you.
Likewise.
I always think about you, and I always worry about you. And I'm like, man, like this guy. I don't even know. I honestly don't even know how old you are. But
I'm 35.
So you're
35.
Okay,
yeah,
so,
yeah. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 28.
Okay.
So we're not that far
no,
apart,
we're
but
roughly in the same. I mean,
you know, enough to where we can date and it'd be all right, you know.
Yeah. That's exactly right. No one's gonna say anything.
Yeah, no one's gonna say
fine.
But you know, like I always,
Chris Hansen will have you take a seat.
Yeah, for real. No, but I've always looked up to you, you know, and how you do music and what you're doing with your poetry and your books and stuff, and it's like, this guy's just out here doing it, just doing his thing.
Man, I appreciate that. I think that's all any of us can really do.
Yeah.
You know, you're just kind of, you go out and you see the next shiny thing, and the best thing that you can possibly do is just go chase the shiny thing. And the beauty of where I'm at, I mean, I have a lot of privilege where I'm at right now, and I'm trying to take as much advantage of that as I possibly can. And some of that is, you know, putting out books that no one's going to read and music that no one's going to listen to, and doing it with enough enthusiasm and love and joy that I feel fulfilled. Like, that's kind of what I love about where things are right now, is if I'm doing something, it's because I want to, not because I ever feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And that was something I didn't do when I was younger and first starting in this, right? Like, I would even, and I don't know if you've gone through this phase in your music. You seem like you've been incredibly authentic throughout your entire career in music.
Right.
I haven't been, right? Like, so much of a lot of my third record was me putting out music that I thought, back when I was in a band called An Autumn Rain, it was music that I thought people would want to hear, music that I thought represented like a philosophy that I believed in, or whatever, and it was me trying too hard, right? And I'm still proud of some of the songs off that record. I'm still happy with some of the things that I did, but during that time, music itself became kind of a job in a lot of ways. And I promised myself after I got out of that stage in music that I was never going to go back to that point where I was writing because I felt like I had to, or writing because I had like the 6 fans that listened to my songs needed something. Like, you know, that's such a foolish way to look at it. It was like this self-aggrandizing thing that I had turned into someone I wasn't. And it feels so refreshing. It feels so good now to be in this state where, like, you know, I'm working on a new record right now, and I'm sitting in my office, and if the music comes, it comes.
Yeah.
If the music isn't there, I don't have to think about it, because it's not like I have a label telling me to put this stuff out, right? It doesn't matter when it comes out. It's I am the timeline. And I think that's just a really cool switch that flipped at some point in my life, and it just feels good, right?
See, when I grew up, I started playing drums for a praise and worship band when I was 6 years old.
For a prison worship band?
Yeah, prison worship. Yeah, no, praise and worship.
Okay.
Yeah, a prison worship band.
I'm picturing you, Johnny Cash, the Folsom City Blues. Like I was
honestly,
there.
Is that a genre, prison worship?
I feel like it should be.
It should be. And Johnny Cash is.
Did we just start a prison worship band?
I think we did. I think we started a genre, and I think we're gonna roll with it, and we're gonna make.
I can't prison worship. You in a praise and worship band.
Yeah, prison worship sounds like Johnny Cash with like, I don't know, like Acid Mammoth or like some type of hallucinogenic band or some trip band or whatever. I'm gonna work on it for sure.
Maybe that's what Saint Anger was supposed to be, right?
Maybe. No, but I was in a praise and worship band when I was 6. I wanted to play drums, and learning was cool because I learned how to do it, and then I got so used to doing it that there was times where I was, there on stage, like almost asleep.
Yes.
Playing the stuff that I was playing.
Yes.
And at a young age, I knew that like that's burnout.
Yes.
That's staleness. I was like 15. I was like, am I retiring? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, and how hollow does it make the thing that you once loved?
Right. Exactly.
I used to play the bar circuit, and so I would, hit up, and I'm playing a bunch of covers and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with playing covers.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't speak to me.
Right.
And so when I was in those situations, like you said, I was sleepwalking. And you leave that after 4-hour set of just playing music that I wasn't passionate about, that I didn't enjoy, that I didn't like. And it made me not want to pick up my guitar when I got home and play the things I did like, play the songs and music that I was working on and loving. Right. It's good that you recognized it. It's good that you stopped it. Because I think a lot of people, they can reach that point and think incorrectly, oh, I don't love this anymore.
Right.
And that's not the case at all. It's that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You're approaching it from the perspective of someone that is falling out of love with something because they've been doing it the wrong way.
And you said you used to play a cover band, and I want to bring up something. There's a difference between somebody coming up to you and being like, you did really good at playing Wagon Wheel or whatever song, compared to somebody coming up to you and saying, this song that you made me cry, or like the song that you've created, what you have presented me has changed me in some way up here.
I feel like there's a harsh divide between the what you bring into those type of situations, right? So like if I am in a cover band, I am generally providing a very cool, fun environment full of like nostalgia and love and music and dancing, and it's this very unique, cool thing that you're able to do.
Right.
And what you're talking about is what I got into music for, which is in that same bar where everyone was jamming to the cover band and having the time of their lives, I'm going to bring the mood down entirely. And no one's going to love it except for that one person in 50.
Yeah.
And that's who I've been writing songs for, right? Is the one person in 50 who's like, oh, shit, I have felt that.
Right.
That resonates with me in a way that something from the Bee Gees never did, right? So it's trying to find your audience,
right?
And
right.
there's just it's a very different approach. But I think where you and I have kind of bonded is that we both have this very lyrically driven style. Mm-hmm. We both have a message that we feel is important to share,
right?
And a lot of times that message from me, anyway, I'm not going to speak for you, but that message from me comes from a place of self-hatred almost, where it's like I am so upset with myself for things that have happened or things that I've not done or things that I have done. And the music is so much therapy and also just almost like a warning, if that makes sense. It's like a, hey, don't be like me.
Right. Right.
This
No,
is
100%.
here's a list of all the things I did wrong over the last however many years. Here's me crying about it with an acoustic guitar, or more recently crying about it with an electric guitar.
Right.
But despite the volume difference, it's the same message. I screwed up and you don't have to.
Yeah.
Or if you did,
this has happened to me. You're not alone.
you're in good company.
Yeah.
Or bad company, depending on how you view me.
Yeah.
You know?
This boat is going to either sink or sail. There's a few holes in it, but we're going to be
Exactly.
okay. You know, and that you're right. You're right. That's exactly how. Like native crowds.
Oh man,
Dude.
I love that band.
Shout out to native crowds.
Yes.
So he was like, "Hey man, I have a show over here at Leftwoods before Leftwoods shut down. Like literally, it shut down like a
R.I.P.
week after he performed, I think." And I went there, and I was by myself. My wife didn't want to go. She's like, I don't feel good, and it's late. It's like, whatever. Okay, cool. So I went, and I wasn't expecting anything. I was just not. I was just.
Had you seen them before this? Or
No.
was this the first?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even drink. I had a Coke.
Uh-huh.
I was like, hey, can I get a Coke? I'm not going to drink. I just sat there, said what's up to him for a little bit, and then I sat on a table, and I watched them perform, and like, dude, like, when I say growing up in the praise and worship band, praise and worship music as a whole, like just the whole genre, I love, because it just brings back the feeling of like, oh shit, like this is it, like I can do this. The way he does his vocals and the way he performs, I was like, amen.
Yes.
Like, dude, and I cried, dude.
Yeah.
Like, there was points where he was singing, and I'm like, dude, like there is so much power in this man.
I completely agree. Remy is such a fantastic talent. He's a guy that more than almost anyone I've ever met bears his whole soul.
Right.
And does it so courageously, so bravely on stage. And it's just, when he is singing, when he is talking in between, which I also think kind of has a praise and worship vibe, right?
The pastor doing some.
You can feel those.
You know what's crazy too? I did ask him. I was like, dude, do you like? Because I think he did like a little church service on Sunday on Facebook Live or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, do you do this regularly? He goes, no, but I really love I actually like playing Christian music, and I was like. And then I saw him play, and I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Well, and I think he is representative of what I wish Christianity was, if that makes sense, right?
Dude.
So I see him play, I hear him speak, I see him live.
Right.
And that is so much more representational of the messages that I see him talking about than anything I ever got in a church. And that's not to say that there's not a church out there that does it right or anything like that. I'm not trying to trash talk that. I'm just saying I think Remy is a unique talent. I think he's the guy, and all the guys in that band too. I mean, he has some fantastic people in that band as well. I think all of them are just bringing that genre of music to Amarillo is so hard, and he's doing a great job of it. They're throwing their heart and soul into every single performance, and I think every single show I have watched native crowds play is better than the last one by an order of magnitude, which doesn't make sense because they're all so good.
Right.
And it's just like you go to the next one and it's even higher energy and it's even wilder, and that is something that is just so special.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you got to see them at Leftwoods. What a great venue to see them at.
And I think, that's what I'm trying to do. I think that's what you're trying to do is like experiment.
Yes.
The experimenting is super important with what we're doing. I had the privilege to meet this guy. Shout out to Rip Trippy. It was random how we met. It was whenever I lived in Canyon.
Yeah.
I needed to do a show here, and I didn't have somebody to produce a show for me. Like I didn't know how to do that to myself. Like, and my friend was like, "Hey, I got a guy in Canyon that can actually just do that for you." I hit him up. He was like, "Yeah, you could do it today." I showed up at his house, and then we did it. And then for like a year, we didn't talk. I left Canyon, and then I came to Amarillo, and I was like, man, I always thought about him. I was like, man, I need to get a hold of this guy. I need to get a hold of Rip. And then we started talking again, and bro, we get in the studio and we make like we can make like 3 songs in like 15 minutes.
Really?
And it's like it just super experimentative. Like he'll put a beat on, and then I'll feel a weird way, and I'm like, hey, bro, like look up like. So whenever I'll talk about Carrie Underwood. I have a song called Carrie Underwood.
Okay.
It hasn't been released yet, and I wrote it because of the song Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood.
Great song.
Yeah, super great song. But I did a twist as in like I'm going to be steps ahead, just like that Carrie Underwood. I'll be a few steps ahead of you before you do anything to me.
I like that.
And so I kept with it, and I was like, dude, you think we could put like Carrie Underwood like vocals like right here, and like when she first went to American Idol at the beginning, and like
I forgot that's how she got famous.
Yeah, that's
right?
how she got famous and stuff. And like that whole song that like and Tripp says it too. He's like, dude, you bring something to the table for like DJs and like producers that like I've never seen before. And I was like, dude, I hear a beat and I think of something. And there's I'll show you. There's beats that I have on my phone that we've created, and it's like the intensity at the beginning just freaks you out, and that beat drops, and you're like, this is gonna be a fucking sick song.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. I think that's something that's always been fascinating to me, specifically with rap or any type of like big production creation is how do you take something that is generally, I think, in previous generations kind of forgotten, right? Like you had the beat in the background, and it's like that's just what carries the back of the song, right?
Yeah.
And now that's the star.
Oh,
that's the thing that you've now done enough creative shit to make it front and center. Wow, that hooked me, right?
Right.
And I that's one of the things that I always loved about Kanye production. That's one of the biggest things that I don't know if you remember New Era. Nick Schmidt was here, and he did some insanely cool, weird beats that I just loved.
Right.
And it was a foreign art to me. It's one of those things that I mean, it's black magic. It might as well be.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all do it. So,
but that goes with your like. I was gonna say that too. Is like that goes with your guitar playing. It's very rare that you find somebody like you that can play electric guitar with no other instrument except for you, electric, and your vocals.
I think that's more out of necessity than anything. I just can't. I don't have enough friends to play with. That's. I gotta make up for it by just doing my own thing.
It's funny because I don't know if I told you this story, but when I first met you, I was listening to your music, and I was like, it was Derek Porterfield and his friends.
Yes.
And I always told Becca, I was like, I want to meet his friends. I want to meet them. Like, I want to meet these friends.
Bad news.
And then you would show up. We would go to shows, and I'm like, where the fuck is his friends at? Where are these guys?
That's the joke.
Yeah, so I was like, dang, he got me good. He really got me good. Yeah. But there's a weird nostalgic. There's a weird weird euphoric feeling that I get whenever you come on stage with an electric guitar and it's your vocals, and it's like almost like Michael Cera vibes.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Like,
yeah.
Like Juno, or like the early 2000s, like
hopefully Scott Pilgrim a little bit.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim, like early 2000s, like guy that's like playing his guitar, but you put a new twist to it to where it's super melodic. Like, am I saying that word? Melodic in the vocals, melody.
Yeah.
The harmonies. I'm not very good with like.
No, I think that's. I mean, I'm terrible at describing my own music. I should be better at it by now. But really what made me start wanting to create music was, do you remember those old CDs? Pop Goes Punk.
Yeah.
And then Punk Goes Acoustic. And
right.
I loved anything that goes acoustic, literally anything. And so I started doing all this acoustic stuff with the idea of like, that's what I wanted to sound like. I wanted to sound like you took a Newfound Glory record and you made the whole thing, but it was just acoustic songs now. And that's why
Newfound Glory.
Yeah, well,
that's a random
little NFG.
Jeez, dude.
A little NFG, a little TBS, a little brand new. I had all these bands that I just idolized. and I wanted to sound like them, and it's why I beat the shit out of my guitar when I play. I play acoustic, and there's like this little like divot on the sound hole because I don't play well. Like, I'm a bad guitar player, and that's why is I was trying to sound like these guys that play electric, and now I've transitioned to electric, but a lot of that same sensibility is still there, right? Like I still feel like I have to fill a room because I don't have a drummer. I only occasionally have people that will play electric with me every once in a while and help me fill in. And so there's this feeling of just like, be loud, but also try to make it sound pretty, right?
Right, yeah, 100%.
And I hopefully am finding that balance at some point.
Oh, definitely.
So,
and I hope you do. I mean, for you as a person personally, you know, I can't tell you. I can tell you all the time you sound great, but only you know.
Well,
you know, only you can find yourself that way.
I'm sure you have this too, but there, as soon as I finish the thing that is just resting here and here, right, and in head and heart, I am moving on to the next thing, feeling like, yeah, that's done, right? And I almost completely shift focus with the idea that, like, nope, that wasn't it. I'm constantly chasing something to fill the hole inside of me, and it's never, ever, ever going to get filled, right? And I know that, I recognize that, but it's also the drive, it's the carrot in front of me that I'm constantly just being like, you know what, maybe it's a book. Turns out it wasn't.
Right.
3 different times, 4 different times now. Maybe it's an album 5 different times. It has not been an album. But maybe it's the next one. Right. And I think that's what keeps me kind of pushing forward, is maybe it's the next one.
Right. Well, we can only hope, but no, not hope. Because if you find that, then there's no more, I feel like.
Well, yeah, and I don't think there's any creative out there that does find it.
Right.
Because there is just always a new thing. It goes back to what I was talking about with Gen Z, right? Like, there are sounds that are definitely nostalgic to me. There are bands that are definitely nostalgic to me, but like, I am so lucky to be surrounded by so many people that are just sending new music to me. TikTok has also exposed me to a lot of brand new artists. And so it's all these new sounds that, like, I never thought of, which is immediately firing all those creative juices again. And you start all over almost. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I wish I had written more like this. I wonder if I can try and learn that.
Right. You know what? I just had an epiphany. I just thought of something crazy. Is that, you think that, I'm trying to get my thoughts where I don't sound crazy on pod. You have skateboarders, you have musicians and these artists and these people that are like profoundly good at something, and they're always going to be like, they'll always have that thing, but they'll like you said, they'll never reach that goal or that thing there's a hole in. But you have like John, that's like 45, working at, affiliated, and he loves his job, but he's like, this is what I'm going to do, and that's my life. I love doing this. Or like, do you think that's why we have such a hard time like living this life, is because everything tomorrow there will be something different. Tomorrow there will be someone better than you. Tomorrow there will be this new thing that you need to reach in some way, where it's like an artist looks at this picture and like, I created this, and then tomorrow somebody creates this, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Do you think that's why? Do we have this sense of like denial of this little hole that we're filling because we know tomorrow is going to be something new?
Well, I've thought about this a lot, because I used to say, and I don't say this anymore.
I hope it made sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I used to say loudly and proudly that contentment was the enemy of progress, right?
Right.
And so it meant that if I was ever in a place where I was content, I was wrong.
Right.
And I was robbing myself of life's experience. And so there's always that motivator, like you said, where there's this next thing where it's like, someone else is doing this better, I could be too. But I actually think it's more about like complacency is the enemy of progress, right? If you stop creating because someone else has done something better than you are in the wrong.
Okay.
But you can still be content with the things that you've created, because as long as you're throwing 100%, as long as you're throwing your whole self into that, I look back at some of the old music that I have made with embarrassment. There are songs that I wrote that are just like, you listen to it and you kind of get that like gross feeling down your back. It's like when if you go into a nursing home, almost like it's like this is a feeling of that part of me is dead.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense? Like
100%.
there's a sitting feeling of like I am with someone that is gone, and I hate that feeling.
Right.
But I threw 100% of myself into that.
Right.
And so there's still a sense of contentment.
It's like your middle child,
Yes.
Didn't necessarily want it. It's my kid. I gotta love him.
That's terrible. But yes, it is the middle child. Was that Malcolm?
Yeah.
Yeah. Malcolm in the middle. Yeah. So it was Malcolm. But there's still contentment because I was able to really thrust myself into that, and that meant that it was a stepping stone to where I'm at now, and that's all this is. And so instead of, I think the battle we're going to constantly have is looking at other artists and not saying like, oh, they're better than me, but instead saying like, I can be better than me, and that's inspiring. I look at what Remy is doing with native crowds, not as a reflection of how bad I am as an artist, right? Like, because I'm not playing like that. I don't have that much talent. It is because
you can't play drums and bass guitar at the same time, Derek. It's impossible.
He just has more friends than me. That's I look at that as inspiring because I have a friend that is doing incredible things in music, and that means I should be pushing myself to do more incredible things in music too.
Right.
But that is such a hard balance to find, and I don't think I found that until I was at least in my 30s. Because it's so easy, especially with, man, I know everyone likes to rail on social media, but it's true. It's this toxic cesspool of comparison. And the more you can step back from that feeling of like, look what I'm doing, and instead just love the progress you're making on your own. I think that's a powerful thing. And as a performer, I also love the look at what I'm doing thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's why
look
I got into this.
I am a narcissist.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing this.
Humility is definitely not in my vocabulary, right? Like, I love showing off. Yeah. I want to be the center of the attention. Yeah. There's the reason no one else is in my band,
exactly.
right? Like,
I cannot work with you.
It's just me. I'm a diva, and I recognize that. But I think it's just a constant battle. Yeah. It's trying to figure out, like, how do I push myself without also putting myself down?
Oh, yeah. I have this problem where I hear someone that's way better than me, and I've always been this way, because living in a small town, you can only have so much drummers. You know?
Yes. Everyone shares BJ Dyer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like in Friona, it was like we had 3 drummers, and so like, and there's always this sense of competition between the 3 of us, and I always would get. I'm not a very jealous person. I try to stay away from jealousy. I try to stay away from that feeling because it is very, very toxic, especially with my anxiety disorder. Like,
sure,
jealousy and anxiety, they're like an atomic bomb.
Oh yeah, I feel like they hold hands and skip through my brain all the time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I've leveled up in what I say. Oh, I wish he was better than me. It's not that I shut down what they do, and I say, what could I do differently to make me different and move forward?
Yes. Bless you.
Thank you.
A devil got his horns.
For real. No, another one.
Here it comes. There it is.
They better be
thrice
They better
blessed.
be crazy. They better be crazy.
They going nutty down there.
They're going nutty.
They going nutty.
If I sneeze one more time, I'm a witch. Burn me.
I remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah, that's what they did. Like anything back in the day, that's all they did was like, oh, you kind of sound different. You're a witch, dude. So,
yeah.
And that, I know this is like a hard turn what we were talking about, but it's so crazy that we are here now doing this, and back then we were like, man, you're not praising God? You're a witch, dude.
Yes.
And we're going to burn you. We're going to hang you. We're going to cut your head off.
Well, and for all of our progress, we're still not really that far off.
That's true.
I think there's this interesting, like, it's funny to look at it, right? Because in some ways we feel really far removed from that because we have the internet and cars that drive themselves.
Right.
But also, a kid got shot for knocking on the wrong house door earlier this week,
That's
right?
True.
And there's like these weird things where like we're really just scared monkeys with too much power. And we always have been, and we always will be. And
we're the scared monkey with a plug that's like turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on.
It's always 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. It's just that the steps forward have been technological, and eventually they are weapons, and then eventually those weapons wipe us out, and we start all over again.
Right.
And maybe we're close to that now. I don't know.
Man, I just can't wait to have friends that will actually not run away from me. I'm talking about robots. They just have to stay. There's no judgment. There's no like he's weird. It's just like, hey man, you look like a person and you talk to me, so you're gonna be my friend.
You always have the appropriate sense of humor for a robot because they're designed for you.
Yeah, they're designed for that.
They won't judge you.
No. I kind of like this idea now.
I'll tell you this. I go back and forth because I really never thought that we would be as far as we are with artificial intelligence, with robots, and just general technology at this point in my life. I just I knew that we would get here.
Yeah.
Didn't think I would live to see it. And so now that it's here, there's a mix of glee and terror that is so hard to describe, right? Like the child in me is like, oh my God, I can talk to the internet, right? I can go to ChatGPT and have a full-blown conversation.
What?
That's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But then the other part of me says, okay, well, we've just displaced probably 60% of people's jobs, right? With just computers. That's a scary feeling. I wouldn't want to be, I don't know, I'm in a career that could get killed by that, right? Like everyone is on some level. So it's scary. It's just a weird thing to think about.
But what I thought of is, if all these robots are going to take all of our jobs, right?
Yeah.
They took our jobs. Yeah.
South Park.
Yeah. then how are we going to live? Like,
so this
money
is one of those,
wise.
And I understand that this is like a very polarizing issue, right? And I don't want anyone to think that I believe that I'm the only person that's right. But I know that I'm the only person that's right. And one of the things that I loved, and I hate all politicians, but when Andrew Yang was running for president, he brought up artificial intelligence a lot. And one of the things he talked about was that we need to have some form of universal base income. And the reason for that is because when you displace all these people, you have supposedly also gained value as a company.
Right.
And that value is in that you don't give a computer sick days. That value is in that they don't need any benefits. That value is in your downtime is less, your response time to your customers is higher, your costs go down, and your profits go up. And some of those profits have to be paid back to the people that were displaced by those robots, right?
Right.
And all that does is it gets us 2 steps closer to what could be. It will never be because, no one is ever going to allow us to do this because the people in power hate everyone. But we're very close to being able to have a utopia based on existing systems that already are in place, based on technology that exists now. We just won't do it. And so I think the middle ground is coming up with some way where we recognize, okay, the bottom 90% of America are the drivers of the economy. The bottom 90% of America are the people who are every single day clocking into their job, going in, doing the things that they need to do, buying their groceries, and going on 2 to 3 vacations in a year if they're lucky.
Which I got to do last year.
Where'd you go?
Dude, I went to everywhere. I went everywhere.
What does that mean?
So the first trip we took last year, we went to Louisiana for Mardi Gras.
Oh, how was that?
That was fucking wild, dude.
I bet.
Wild, wild, wild. If you ever have a chance to go to Mardi Gras, do it. Go to Bourbon Street and do that shit, dude.
So okay, I have multiple questions.
Yes.
But how long were you on Bourbon Street? Like, do you go during the middle of the day, or do you try to just only hit
all
it at
day,
night,
every day?
or...
All day, all day. If you want to do it all day, go all day.
How was the food?
Fucking amazing.
Louisiana is some of the best food I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
But I haven't been during Mardi Gras. I feel like it would be even better. You have street vendors
you got
all over the place.
Was it Fat Thursday or Fat Wednesday?
Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's all street food. It's all fucking grease. It's all whatever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah.
Piled up. A law in Louisiana is that you can drink outside if it's a plastic bottle.
Okay, yeah.
So no aluminum, no glass, but you can have whiskey, you can have beer, whatever you want.
As long as it's in a
as long as it's in a plastic cup.
Okay.
24 hours a day.
That is dangerous.
It is.
But it also explains a lot of the videos I see of Bourbon Street.
Right.
That
right.
does make sense.
So.
Okay, so you went to Louisiana.
It was Louisiana. We were doing that, and we actually stayed there for the whole week of.
All of it?
Yeah, all of it. We stayed all of it. And we did the parades. We did the strip clubs. We did icy titties and all of that, dude. All of it. And it's crazy because you think, after Mardi Gras, we chill out. We gotta sober up for the. Fuck no. They were getting ready for St. Patrick's Day, bro.
Oh yeah,
they were getting ready for
back.
They were getting ready for St. Patrick's Day. They were getting ready for they were ready for all of it. They were already making parades for Easter and shit, dude. Like it's always a thing there. Always.
I mean, I also feel like that street in the same way that like Vegas or anywhere else like that. It is just primed to party all the time.
Yeah.
They'll come up with a reason. Like
you can have 2 cars can pass, but they're really, really small roads, and every building is either food or merchandise or whatever, and the streets are filled with people. Like literally.
Did you go on any don't they have like they're not party boats, but like boats that you eat on and like
we went on a yacht dinner.
How was that?
Dude, it was good. It was dope. It was something will never. I mean, probably experienced maybe once or twice in my life whenever I get really old. But
sure.
It was like the little water.
Yes.
And the engines, and so we went and ate on a boat, and we did the Mississippi. We did a little Mississippi route or whatever.
Oh, I bet that was dope.
It was super cool, and it got a little cold, but what do you think is gonna happen?
But you're a brave, strong man.
Yeah,
a little cold ain't never hurt anyone.
And we got to do like a ghost tour. So
how was that? My daughter would love that.
Yeah, dude, it was really cool seeing like the cemeteries and how they make because they were talking about how they build the cemeteries in Louisiana because of like the hurricanes and stuff. Like you don't want dead bodies floating around.
Yeah, because they'll float up. Yeah,
so they had to do it a certain way, and the lady was really cool, but it was hard. It was kind of harsh because she would talk about like how Louisianans don't want to talk about Katrina.
Yeah, I mean, I could feel like that would be like a touchy subject for sure.
And she was like, I always get people here on this tour talking about, do we see ghosts from people with Hurricane Katrina and stuff, and and it was funny because there's a lot of voodoo, hoodoo, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of witchcraft kind of stuff.
And
down
she would ask questions like, what do you think this is? Like, what do you think this? I rose my hand, and I was like, black magic. She goes, that's racist. And I was like, whoa, dude. You told me to answer a question. I didn't know it was I'm sorry, my bad. Like
I mean, is black metal racist? I feel like that's just maybe I just don't understand.
I think black magic comes from like Afro, like black.
Oh,
magic,
okay.
And so like
I just thought it was like dark magic, like dark metal music,
That's
right?
what I was thinking. But I learned something in Louisiana.
Okay.
But Louisiana was cool, and then let me get my mind together here. Oh yeah. So then we gifted my daughter to Disney World in Florida.
My gosh. Yeah, I love Orlando. That's fun.
So we did
she
that.
love it?
Oh, she loved it.
And you said she's 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect age to go.
For sure.
Perfect age to go.
I loved it. I was like, dude, I'll never do this again. Like,
yes,
it's so fucking expensive, anyways.
Well, okay. I think it's criminal that one 100%. Of the wealthiest companies in the world that built that initially to be an accessible amusement park for normal families, suburban families, is now this basically elitist thing.
Yeah.
Like, most families can't afford to go to that. That's crazy.
I was eating kid meals because I wanted to save as much money to do the cool thing. So I would eat kid meals at like every place that we'd go, and I still rung up $50.
Oh yeah. Dude, that's above and beyond your tickets to get into the resort and do all the
the parking, the fucking whatever.
It's ridiculous.
And so like I do not know how you do it anymore.
I mean, it's sad to me, but I'm so glad your daughter got to have that experience. I'm sure she loved it.
We had the money, and I was like, dude, we're gonna spend this money on stupid shit anyway. Like we're
We
gonna
all
say
get
we
buried
need
in the same place,
yeah,
man.
like I was like, yeah, a new car would be nice, or yeah, this would be nice too. But like, I want to fucking almost die, and like I never
Yep.
been on a plane before, so I was like,
Never.
never. Last
Wait,
year,
did you fly on a plane to Louisiana?
yeah,
Though?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
But
okay. So
but
this
whole
thing.
year was the first time I ever been on
No,
planes.
okay. So what'd you think?
The Earth is flat. Okay.
Bet.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
No, just kidding. But I'm not.
I'm not.
I think, but I do. I went on that plane. I was like, "This ain't round. What are you talking about? There's no curve to nothing out here."
That's your first thought.
Yeah, I was
Not
saying,
you're gonna die in the big giant death tube.
no. Actually,
Okay.
getting up there was cool. I felt good there, but the whole like you feel the power of those engines like at the beginning, and
crazy.
you're like, "Dude, what?"
That's another thing that talking about technology. That's another thing that is just straight magic.
Right,
The fact that we
right.
can fly this many people all the time
Yeah, yeah.
with consistency and without more accidents
Yeah.
is just insane.
We went from trains. That was our biggest move. Our biggest flex was in the Western times. The
Oh, yeah,
trains
yeah.
to cars to flying to and we had boats too. And everything. Boats were before trains or whatever.
Yeah, but we live in Amarillo. We've never seen a boat, so
yeah, we don't really see boats. Those are new things to us.
yeah.
But we did the Disney World thing, and we kind of stayed there. We kind of stayed at the Disney place, so we didn't really venture off to Florida.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that. So we came back, and then literally, like, I think it was like we came back from that. We dropped Phoebe off, and we're like, let's go to Austin and San Antonio. So we went to Austin. Well, we drove there.
Yeah.
We drove to Austin and San Antonio. We had a blast. It was the 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
It was like 4th of July.
Hot,
so
hot down there in July.
yeah, yeah. So we just had a 4th of July because my grandma's birthday was on 4th of July. So
Okay.
I didn't really want to, like, I was still kind of like touchy about the whole situation with my family.
Okay.
And the whole, but, I wanted to do 4th of July differently. So we did that. We went to San Antonio and Austin, and we just hung out, had parties, drank, and went to bars and just bullshitted.
I think both of those cities are beautiful. I'm honestly partial to San Antonio at this point. The Riverwalk's
Right.
just great.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy how hot it gets down there.
No.
That's insane to me.
Florida was bad. I will say that.
Florida's
Florida,
humid.
and I was like, I don't like this at all.
It eats you up, man. It eats you
does.
up. I think that's why everyone in Florida has a pool. It's like
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to.
You just jump in and you'd be like, you're fine, totally fine.
Yes.
Houses need to be made out of water.
Yeah, exactly. Let me swim to my kitchen.
Yeah, for real.
Well, I mean, hell, when it's that humid, you're swimming through the air, so you might as well just swim in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like it's just moist and gross. I hate it.
It's like
I
a
hate
slug.
it. Coming from the driest city in the United States, it's like I don't know. My body's just not used to it.
Right.
I need a little humidity, but Jesus.
Yeah, when Amarillo gets humid, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can kind of tolerate it.
Yeah.
Not in the mornings, though. Sometimes it rains and then the sun comes up and it's already 90 and you're like, no.
Yeah. Don't enjoy that.
No.
I don't enjoy that at
Right.
all.
Then we come back from that,
Yeah.
and like maybe a month, we go to Puerto Rico.
Oh, how was Puerto Rico, man?
That was fucking. I want to stay there.
I'm
Soul is there for sure.
I've been wanting to take my girlfriend there for a little bit. She doesn't have her passport yet, so we can go to Puerto Rico because
Right.
it's part of the United States, right? I bet it was beautiful. How was the food there?
That place. So we went to this. I'm sorry, and this is gonna be a hot point. I've talked about it before, but Puerto Ricans better barbecue.
Oh, I believe that in my soul.
Texas ain't got shit on Puerto Rico.
I
dude.
believe that in my soul.
I did not want to stop eating, bro. I was so full. I was like, I'm gonna get sick, and I was like, fuck it. If I throw it all up, I'm just gonna eat it again, dude. It was so fucking good,
Hunger
dude.
Games.
and they're so nice there. Like the
Yeah.
people are fucking beautiful. The people are nice. Pretty much like Mardi Gras in a smaller area, because we went to the bars there, cheaper alcohol, but everybody was outside just partying it up. The streets were filled with people.
How are the beaches?
Beaches were very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. If you can get a really good spot, they're very nice. What? So you think Texas is fucking huge? So
Yeah.
driving an hour somewhere is norm, right?
Right.
In Puerto Rico, you can be on one side of the coast and then drive an hour and be on the other side of the coast.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, bro, what?
See,
to live in a place that you could drive an hour to the other side of your world, the place that you live, and be on at another ocean, that's wild to me.
To me, I think I would hate living in a place like that. I don't know.
Right.
But I think I would hate living in a place like that because I would get stir crazy.
Right.
You can still fly, you can still go over, right? But I like having my car because I was conditioned here in Texas that I can just drive literally anywhere because anywhere in Texas is like 12 hours, right? But there's a magic to being that isolated, I feel like, that just must have been so inspiring.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like
being on that island, because don't get me wrong there, you will see the downfalls of Puerto Rico. You will see it. It's just there. Literally, we were staying in a hotel, and every day from 7 a.m. to like 11:30, they were having protests because they're building hotels over the what is it called? Poverty is so high in that place. So hotels are like murdering the economy when it comes to like people just trying to survive.
Because they're trying to focus on tourism rather than supporting their own.
Yeah. And so like they were literally protesting from like 7 in the morning to like 11:30 at night, and it's like I'm that white guy in a hotel being like, "Hey, shut up! We're trying to sleep here." But I would wake up and hear it, and I'm like, I can't. I don't live here. I can't. I don't know what they're going through.
Sure. It's one of those things I've actually been curious about because it's been blowing up online about Hawaii.
Yes.
That they're basically saying, hey, don't tour here, and I sympathize with that. I recognize that. I'm curious, when you have so many of these places that their economies are essentially built around the idea of tourism, what happens if people listen?
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm not trying to like take sides on it. I'm just in my head trying to think, okay, well, let's say everyone stops going.
Right.
Then what happens?
Right.
Where do you make money? And that may just be like, I work for myself, and so there's always that fear in the back of my head of like, where is my next paycheck coming from, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so I hear that, and I'm curious, if I'm living in Hawaii and there's all these people that are basically saying like, hey, I don't want any more tourists, and my business is built around the idea of tourism, I'm bummed.
Right.
Because I'm like, I sell these cheap Hawaii shirts that like literally all the white people that visit here love.
Yeah.
And I'm able to rip them off for however much money. I love doing that.
Right.
And do that.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a balance in some way. Maybe, I don't know. And again,
some dumb white guy is going to go to Hawaii and he's going to pay $60 for a Hawaii shirt.
Yes.
And you're going to be like, I can do this for a living.
Well, and that stays in my mind, that stays local to their economy. So if anything, that's a really good thing, that you're essentially taking like all of these thousands and thousands, millions of dollars from the United States proper down into Hawaii every single year. In my head, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's not my fight, but
see, and that was the thing too. Me and Becca, we kind of toured the beaches and stuff. Are you strict on time? Are we good?
I'm good. I'm good right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need to be done with at a certain time?
We probably need to wrap up a little before 5, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Yeah,
I was going to say
a short bit. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Lost track of time.
Yeah, I know. We just talked.
I know, dude. I just love talking to you. I just love catching up, man.
We were touring the beaches and stuff, and you could see the poverty. There was houses condemned, like no roofs. You can walk inside these buildings, these houses that were once there. Cars, like literally just dead, gone. Like no work, no use. Like chickens everywhere, just fucking chickens.
That's just so sad. And I'm sure a good chunk of that, they went without electricity for a good long time.
Yeah.
thanks to the whole United States government that can't step in and support the people that are also paying taxes. It's just interesting how they were kind of relegated to their own. Hell, in school, I wasn't taught about Puerto Rico. I don't know if you were, but like growing up, that was not even like a part of like the United States.
Right. Yeah, it's like, oh, we have islands? That's wild. I thought it was just Hawaii.
Right.
So like going there and seeing that, it's like, damn, like somebody is literally on their like house destroyed, family is living on the streets, and then this fucking white dude with his martini is like 20 stories up on a hotel living his vacation life. And such a weird, because it's so small of a place. In Amarillo, I kind of just neglect the thought of, oh, we have poverty here,
right?
But in Puerto Rico, you can't not think about it.
Well, I think it's something that when it's that small, you can't push it aside, you can't hide it. I also just feel for anyone in those situations where it's just like that. Again, you can't leave the island, right? I mean, you said you drive an hour across. Like where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
If you're a young kid born in Amarillo, Texas, I'm so sorry, but you can eventually reach a point where you can drive your car to another better, cooler city where there are better, cooler people, and I like that. That's an opportunity I take for granted. I know.
Right.
I can't imagine what it would be like to feel trapped.
Right. 100%.
And if you're trapped in that poverty, good luck saving up for a plane ticket to try and get out of there.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to survive.
Yep.
I don't know. That's a tough situation.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got to go. At least the beach was cool.
Yeah, the beach was cool and everything. Sitting there being like, I am that guy. You know.
I'm glad I was able to turn that into something sad. that was a good move for me.
No, I mean it's just one of those things. I think about it all the time too, but we can round up this conversation. I wanted to talk to you about when we first talked about doing this, and my daughter, she got her tonsil surgery and stuff, and I was like, dude, I totally forgot we were doing it today. My bad.
Oh my gosh! So it was tonsils.
Yeah.
How did she do? Was it okay?
Yeah, she did good. She was in pain for a few days, but she got over it.
I still have my tonsils. Did you get yours out?
No, I still have mine too.
Yeah. So that's a foreign surgery to me. I was really scared when my daughter got hers out.
Right. I was like, dude, what? Because she got her tonsils and her adenoids out or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, this is something, if for whatever reason you are listening to this podcast and you have a child debating what you're going to do, right? Don't separate that surgery, no matter what your doctor says.
Don't separate it. Just do it at the same time.
Our doctor had us pull out her adenoids to see if that would fix it.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were like, oh, no, it turns out you have to pay for another surgery. And so we went in and did the tonsillectomy. That's so stupid.
Yeah,
and it makes me so angry that it wasn't conveyed to us better.
Right. Right.
So now my child has been under anesthesia twice, right? Like, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah,
she
was in pain twice, and she got under anesthesia twice. And that was I was afraid that Phoebe was like, "Hey, I like this anesthesia piece,"
right?
And go into like a coma, or you always hear it like.
Well, and it's
she never did she's never had a surgery like that before, and I'm like, how do doctors know that reaction?
I mean, they've been in school longer than me for sure, but I also don't trust any of them. So
yeah, that's true. True,
but I'm glad that went well. I'm glad that we were able to reschedule too. I'm glad that we were still able to make this work.
So, when I told you, I was like, man, like, I was down bad after that whole tonsil surgery. Like, life literally hit me in the fucking ass. God. And it's not like the podcast, and it's not the music. It's not just life was like, hey man, you're alive. I'm just gonna butt fuck the shit out of you.
God.
And it was one thing after the other. I found out one thing, and then I turned around and found out another thing completely different from what this was. So I had one situation I was dealing with, and then something came up, and I was like, oh, there's another situation. That's my problem. Cannot control. If I can't control shit, oh, it fucking fucks with me.
Oh yeah,
I can't fix the thing it's like. If I fuck something up, I know I fucked something up. and it's what I'll deal with consequences. I'm fine. If something fucks up that I'm not a part of and I can't control,
Yeah.
I cannot deal with it.
It's a helplessness, man.
Yeah.
And none of us want to feel helpless.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that you were going through it. I hope things have kind of turned around a little bit, or at least on their way to turning around.
One thing is, hopefully. The other thing, it's going to be a very, very long process for me, for the people that are involved. I'm going to therapy for it.
Good.
And it's crazy to go to a place to talk about this stuff.
Yes.
And somebody being like, I don't know if these are all therapists, so I'm just, but my experience with this therapist, he's like, thank you for telling me. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for letting me be a part of this situation. And for somebody to be like, these problems that you have, because I'm the type of person that's like, their problems, they're going to go away. I'm not a big deal. I'm just going to live my life and it's going to be fine. I'll put it in the bank and I'll do it later. Whenever I'm there, he's like, dude, you have trauma and you need to realize that it's trauma and you need to realize that you're going through something. You're grieving. And it's like, it's refreshing to know that somebody's there being like, you can feel these things. You can feel this way. And it is a problem. It is trauma. It is this, whatever the case may be. And I 100% support therapy for anybody.
Yeah, man. I am still here because of therapy.
Wow.
I
What got you like to say, fuck it, I'm going to do it?
So, I have never had an aversion to it because that's what I went to school for. So initially I wanted to be a marriage and family counselor. Initially I wanted to be a child therapist.
Wow.
And I went to school and realized I would not be good at either. Right. I would be terrible at both. The child therapy thing, the things that our children are subjected to are horrifying.
Oh yeah.
The horrors of the world are just vast and terrifying, and it is not something that I think I would feel healthy listening to. I have immense respect for the therapists that are out there that are able to endure so much emotional baggage, right? But yeah, that's what I went to school for, and it obviously didn't work out, but it became something that I was not shy to go into when I needed it, and I'm very thankful for that because it did save my life. I was very fortunate to have a guy that I was able to talk to through some of the most difficult and harrowing pieces of my life, and knowing that he was there was in many ways, I joke around about this, but it's also kind of true. He kind of became like this surrogate dad, right? I make this joke at some of my shows and stuff. Like I was talking to my therapist and I said, "Hey, Dad, like I've been having trouble with this," and it really was a slip like that, right? Like where it's like, I want to go and show this guy that I now have respect for that I'm doing better. And in order to do that, I have to get better.
Right.
And so, he gave me a lot of tools. He gave me a lot of steps that provided me with a drawing board through which I can kind of work through my problems. And it's helping me still today. Right. So yeah, huge fan of therapy. I'm very glad you're in it.
Yeah. It's opened me up to be honest.
Yes.
To people. Like, he's like, you need to express how you feel. And you need to express what you need for these things.
That's hard to do, man.
Yeah,
and
super
I don't
hard.
I don't want to speak for you, but I would say as a guy, a lot of times that sort of thing is a lot more difficult to vocalize.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's just because of this culture of toxic masculinity. Like that's a term that's thrown around a lot. I don't think my generation was affected by it nearly as much, and this next generation almost not at all, right? But I do think that we are not encouraged or supported when those emotions are expressed in the same way that we probably should be, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that anyone's better or has an easier journey than anyone else. I'm just saying that is something that is unique to a lot of men, is that maybe we don't have the tool set, Maybe we don't have the vocabulary. Maybe we don't have the emotional depth or breadth to be able to say, like, this is how I am feeling.
Right.
And so when we do say it, those things come out poorly.
Right.
But learning how to talk about it, learning how to be able to communicate that.
That's what I'm doing, and it's like it's crazy. And let me see how much time we got, because I don't want to stick on this for too long. But I've been going, and I saw therapy when I walked into therapy. Talk about the bad, see if I can fix, so I can be good. And there was a session where I went in there expecting to talk about bad so that I can fix the things to make it good, and I ended up talking about the good, and I was like, whoa. And it got me really emotional, because, like, I think people forget that in the times of distress and the times of disaster, there's always something good. There's always something good, whether it be, like, memories or, like, oh, I still have a fucking job.
Yes.
You know, it could be the smallest thing where it's like, I had milk in my cereal this morning, you know. But, like, I was like, it really shook me when I was like, yeah, dude, like, and I was telling him these stories, and then I started getting emotional. I was like, I forgot that I did have good.
Yes.
And it freaked me out a little bit.
Well, and isn't that kind of a side effect of anxiety as well, right?
Yeah,
like we tend to focus exclusively on the negative that has happened, the negative that is happening, or perhaps worst of all, the negative that hasn't even happened yet.
Right, 100%.
And so when you're constantly preoccupying your mind, energy, and heart on all of those different things, of course you feel terrible. But if you are able to, I love, growing up, one of my favorite things that I remember, my mom gave me this thing that was, my happiness is up to me. It's up to me to choose to have a happy day. And it changed the way I looked at happiness, because it really is. It boils down to, the world can be on fire. Mm-hmm. But if you're able to find 3 good things at the end of the day, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, you'll be straight.
And gratitude journals help. It's helped me a lot. Just being present. The fact that I share custody with of my daughter with my ex has also given me a sense of life is just terribly impermanent.
Right.
And right now she's 10, and so that means I have 4 more Christmases with her. Right?
Yeah,
like that's a crazy thing. And obviously that's not it, right? But I mean, before she's an adult, before she does her own thing, I have 4 more.
Yeah.
And so that allows you to kind of put a lot more emphasis on the time that we have with each other, and recognize, like, everything's important.
Right.
Everything's beautiful.
Right.
And everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Dang. You weren't expecting that for this podcast, did you? You didn't expect that. And
hey, you brought an emo artist on. You had to get something. Like,
and that's for everybody that's watching. Like, honestly, 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, or maybes, or whats. It doesn't fucking matter. Cy and Derek are saying, there's a way, there's a will. If you need therapy, if you need help, we can find it. You can find it. We'll figure it out.
Well, and I think it's also important for people to remember that no matter where you're at, no matter who you are, and no matter how few people you think you have in your corner, there is always someone that will feel your absence.
Yeah.
And so you need to stay. You need to be here.
Yeah.
And that call of the void is so loud sometimes.
Yeah.
But no matter where you're at, no matter what you're feeling, even if you don't think anyone's in your corner, I guarantee we are. Because that whatever it is that you're doing, you have something of value to bring to the world.
Right.
And if you don't think you do, that just means you hadn't found it yet. So stick around and keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think that's half the reason that I even got into making art in the first place, is just that feeling of purpose, that feeling of, if I can throw something out there that helps someone who feels this way, cool.
Right.
That's what I want.
And me and Derek are no therapy. Well, he's went to school for it. Me, I did not.
Well, I didn't graduate, so I don't know if I even really get to count it as going to school, right? Derek
but,
dropped out of school for it.
But if you do need somebody to talk to, I know that Derek is more or less on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll put his socials on the pod. And you can always hit me up. And I'm not a doctor, but if you need someone to talk to, I'm definitely a person to listen.
Well, and there's a lot of resources out there.
Yeah.
I know that Kalichi actually has.
Yeah.
So if you look up Kalichi
Yeah.
Amarillo, they actually have an on-site therapist that you would be able to talk to. Highly recommend. She's very, very sweet. It's just they're incredible people over
Right.
there, just in general. You know, and surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed, which is hard as hell in Amarillo, but they do exist.
There's people out here that want to see you fly,
Yes.
to see that glow in you. But on a lighter note, you have some stuff going on. You have some stuff as Derek Porterfield as a person. You have some stuff going on I want to talk about. New album coming up.
Yes. Hopefully this year. It's going to be late this year.
Okay.
And
like Octoberish or like
I'm thinking more December because your boy doesn't work as hard as he used to on that kind of stuff.
Right.
I've reached a point where I'm so scared of money. This is such a like embarrassing thing to kind of talk about or admit, right? But like money is a terrifying piece of my reality, right? And I think that's true for literally everyone.
For a lot of people.
Most people, right? But it's just I'm so focused on the business side of what I'm doing that I have not been able to create as much as I'd like to. I haven't been able to write the final book in my sci-fi trilogy yet. I haven't been able to promote this new book that I have as much as I would like to. I'm just so focused on going out there and building my business, and I love doing that, and I'm happy about it, which is great. But it means that I'm suffering on some of the other stuff as far as timing, right? So I'm hoping by the end of this year, I'm going to have an album out that right now feels very folky. There's a lot of like, I'm a wannabe Rustin Kelly kind of guy. I don't know if you listen to any of Rustin Kelly's stuff, but that's really what the vibe that I'm kind of feeling. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's the most fun I've had writing in a long time.
Great.
I'm loving it. The other issue is I'm happy, and I haven't. I haven't written a whole lot while I'm happy because I just hadn't been happy a whole lot. So I don't write happy music. These songs are still not happy because I don't think anyone was ever saved by a bubblegum pop song. But I still want to put this music out into the world, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very excited about it, and hopefully I'll be playing a little bit of it at Kalichi. I'm hopefully going to have a show coming up there. I'll be playing at the 806 with a band out of Austria called Lennon.
Right.
They are the only band. This is a cool little side fact about Lennon. They're so good. Highly recommend anyone look up their music. It's Lehnen. They played at the 806, and I was 19, 20 probably, and I only caught like the last half of their set. And it was so good that I turned to my buddy and I was like, where are they playing next?
Right.
And they were playing down in Denton. So we drove the next morning down to Denton to go watch them. I've seen them back-to-back nights, and it was incredible. One of the best things in music that I've ever done. They're just really talented people.
Wow.
So very excited about that show. I'm trying to set something up at the Golden Light as well. Just trying to get a little tour kind of going.
Right, yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I've also got the new book.
The new book.
Forgot to say anything about the book, but yeah.
Is it a poem book?
This is a poetry book, yeah. So it's probably my last poetry book. I don't know that I'll do another poetry book after this. I like doing things in 3, so I'm keeping the door open.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's a finality in 3.
Yeah.
But poetry books are just kind of a pain to put out. I also am just. I consider most poems that I've written as unfinished songs,
Oh, wow.
And so there's also a rawness and an emotionalness. Emotionalness is not a word, but I promise I'm an author. But there's a certain sentimentality to it that feels too authentic, if that makes sense. And I don't like feeling that exposed or that vulnerable. I mean, you've seen I have not been on social media. I've been trying to kind of pull back and be a little more
literally
private.
Gone. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Did you go to prison or something? Because I haven't seen you.
Not that you know. So this is my first interview since I got out.
Too busy making prison worship over there.
Yeah, my prison worship album's coming next. God, I actually do think that would be a dope record. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a you and me project for sure.
I hope so.
We could do it.
But yeah, you can check out the book. It's called I'm Not in a Good Place, and it's on Amazon and all the other cool places. Yeah. And I'm very proud of it. But again, it feels so raw and it feels so honest if that makes sense, that I don't know that I will do another thing like this.
Okay.
It's something that's very uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud of it. I'm really glad it's out there. Debating if I'll do another one.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's where I'm trying to go, and I'm hopefully going to have a tour to kind of support both of those pretty soon.
Awesome, dude. Dude, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you bringing me
on.
on.
I was like, we gotta get out of here.
I know I got to leave, but I appreciate you having me on, man. Seriously, this is so much fun, and we got to do it again soon.
Yeah, it's super refreshing to just know that you're there just to talk to.
Absolutely,
and
all the time.
Bullshit. It's funny because we could have literally made this into a fun deal. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this podcast was fun, but I think the world needs a little bit of some sad Derek and sad Cy, you know.
I hope so. I think the world can benefit from a little bit of sadness.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Awesome. Right, we'll see you next week, and like always, go fuck yourself.
Thank you so much, man.